Tashmat Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj Srila Gurudev Ki Jai. Nitul Pravishtam Vishnupada Shatara Tashmat Srila Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitul Pravishtam Vishnupada Shatara Tashmat Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitul Pravishtam Vishnupada Shatara Tashmat Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitul Pravishtam Vishnupada Shatara Tashmat Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitul Pravishta Mahabhagavat Srila Goraksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitul Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Nitul Pravishta, I was just pasting the link in our WhatsApp group. Nitul Pravishta Mahabhagavat Srila Goraksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitul Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Nitul Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Patadash Raghunath Shar Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Rishi Gopal Shada Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandal Rajamandal Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradati Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund Ki Jai. Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya Ki Jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shinitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Gaur. Dandavat Pranams Vasheshwari Mataji and Prajumna Prabhu Hari Bol. Let me share my screen with you all. Okay, 1 second. All right. So, yes, you made it today, Prajumna Prabhu. That's really cool. So, what we've been going over now. So, in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, so far, Srila Rupa Goswami, he's given an explanation of, we're in the first chapter. So actually, 1 second, let me just explain how. Okay, this is from my basic understanding, but I need to review this better. This is just how I understand it now, but I need to study, really. But, Haribol Ganga Didi Dandavat Pranams. So Srila Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is divided, it's an ocean, right? It's Bhakti Rasa Amrita Sindhu. So it's an ocean of the nectar of Bhakti Ras. And Bhakti Ras is mainly, our Ras is our relationship with Krishna, which is our permanent relationship with Krishna, which is of 5 kinds. That's the main, there's Shantaras, Dasyaras, Sakyaras, Vatsalyamas, and Madhuras. You know those rasas, I don't need to explain that. But then along with those main rasas, there are many other, what do you say? I don't know even know the words, like things that enhance it. And so mainly those 5 rasas, that's what the rasas is referring to, but then also everything along with it, all the other rasas, and there's secondary rasas and so many different ingredients that enhance those all this ras. So it's the ocean of all this ras. Srila Rupa Goswami Pad, he breaks down all of this. And so this ocean, this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Sindhu means ocean, is divided into 4 parts. And so the first part is, so it's divided into the 4 directions. So the first direction is the eastern direction, right? That's where the sun rises. And it goes in, what do you say? Yeah, a clockwise. It goes clockwise. So first there's the eastern division, then there's the southern division, and then there's the western division, and then the last part is the northern division. And so in the eastern division, that's called, that's where Srila Rupa Goswami, I forgot what the chapter name is. I think it's Bhakti Rasa Veda. I can't remember actually, I have to look this up. But in that, on the eastern side of the ocean, there are 4 waves. Waves are called laharis, 4 laharis. So the first wave is Samanya Bhakti, which means just, Samanya means general. It's like general explanation of bhakti. And what is that general definition? Is Srila Rupa Goswami gives the verse, Anya Vilashita Shunyam, Jnana Karma Dhanavratam Anukulena Krishnanu Shilanam Bhakti Uttama. And then Srila Rupa Goswami further shows proof how all these different references from Narad Pancharatra and different places in Srimad Bhagavatam are all explaining bhakti. And this verse is containing the essence of all those verses. It's like the perfect definition of bhakti, and our acharyas have given many explanations of it. There's so many very detailed explanations of this verse, but it's the perfect definition of Uttam Bhakti. So that's the first wave. Then the second wave is Sadhan Bhakti, and then the third wave is Bhav Bhakti, and the fourth wave is Prem Bhakti. So that's the eastern side, and the 4 waves. The eastern side of the ocean with the 4 waves. Now, the southern side of the ocean, which has 5 waves. And, oh God, let's see if I can remember what the waves are. The first wave is Vibhav, then Anubhav, then Satvik Bhav or Vyabhichari Bhav, I don't remember which one. And then, I can't remember which comes first. Anyways, one is Satvik Bhav, and then the next is Vyabhichari Bhav, and then the 5th is Sthai Bhav. And we'll get into this later. Like Vibhav is divided into 2 parts, the Ashraya Lambana and Vishaya Lambana. And there's a whole explanation. My Gurudev explains all these 5 components of rasa in a very easy, with a very beautiful example of Mother Yashoda in his Damarashtakam book. That makes it a little bit more easy to understand. But anyways, we'll get there when we get to the southern division. So we did the eastern division, which is, what was it? It's general definition of bhakti, then Sadhan Bhakti, Bhav Bhakti, Prem Bhakti, then southern division, which is Vibhav, Anubhav, Satvik Bhav, Vyabhichari Bhav, and then Sthai Bhav. And now is, I think, Sthai Bhav. I might be getting this all wrong. I'm not I haven't actually studied Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu before yet, so I'm just... Then there is the western side. And so on the western side, Paschim. So Purva, Dakshin, now Paschim, western. On the western side, there are 5 waves. And what are those 5 waves? The Sattvika Bhavs. Sorry, not Sat... What am I doing? I meant to say the Sthai Bhavs. So that is, Shantaras, Dasyaras, Sakyaras, Vatsalyaras, and Madhuras. And then, on the northern side, that's the last section, the northern section, is all the Gona rasas, all the secondary rasas. So on the western side is the primary rasas, and on the northern side is the secondary rasas. And oh God, let's see if I can remember them. I don't think I can remember them. But there are all these different moods that nourish the primary rasas, like I don't know, like laughter, hasyaras, and anger, and I don't remember what they all are, but we'll get into those. There's 7 of them. So, that's just a basic overview. Oh, and then the last section is, I can't remember. Anyways, this is a really basic overview, but I'll do a better overview again when I have it. I need to study a little bit, and then I'll be able to give a better overview of it all. But anyways, so now we are just in the very first section of Nectar of Devotion. Srila Prabhupada is just giving a brief summary of these. And he's not giving so much Sanskrit words, mostly just English explanation of it all. But yeah, he went through the general definition of bhakti, this verse Anyabhilashita Shunyam, and now he's going through the different characteristics of bhakti. And so the first two are Kleshagni and Shubhada. So Kleshagni means that bhakti, she removes all kinds of klesh, all kinds of distress. And she's Shubhada, and she's the bestower of all auspiciousness. And so that is these two characteristics of bhakti. These are especially prominent in sadhan bhakti. And so in sadhan bhakti there are these two characteristics. Then in bhav bhakti, the next characteristics are that moksha lokuta krit, Bhakti Devi, she makes liberation. She makes it completely insignificant, laghu. She makes it like nothing. And then she and she is very rarely achieved, so durlabha. So those are the two next characteristics which are in Bhav Bhakti. And then the last two are Sandarananda Visheshatma, that Bhakti Devi is the condensed form of extreme transcendental bliss. Sandarananda Visheshatma, a very special condensed form of bliss. Sandarananda Visheshatma, and then finally the last characteristic, this is on Prem Bhakti, she is Krishna Karshini. She has the power to completely attract the mind of Krishna. So actually these 6 characteristics of Bhakti Ras are shown in the Madhurya Kadambini chart. So let me just share that with you really quick. Here it is. So let's zoom in a bit. See right here, there's a little thing. The 6 characteristics of Sadhan Bhakti, Bhav Bhakti, and Prem Bhakti. So here are the first 2. Let's see it. The first one is Kleshagni. Bhakti, this is from the Madhurya Kadambini. We made this chart at the back of the book. So Kleshagni, Bhakti destroys all misery. And there are 5 types of misery: avidya, asmita, rag, vesh, and abhinivesh. That's ignorance, false ego, attachment, hatred, and absorption in worldly objects. Abhinivesh, absorption in worldly objects. So she destroys those the 5 types of misery arising from all these. And then she also destroys the 4 types of sin. That is prarabdha pap, sin that's fructified. That means sin that you're undergoing right now in this lifetime. And then aprarabdha pap, which means unfructified sin. That means sin that's building up for you, that's like waiting for you in your next lifetimes. That you're not going through right now, but it's in store for you. You're going to experience them. And then there's kutapap, which are the seeds of sin, which means, like, for example, they give an example, if somebody goes to jail, a thief goes to jail, but then he doesn't really learn his lesson, and then after he leaves his jail, still the seed is there. Well, that's bij, isn't it? I don't know what the difference. Actually, I need to see what the subtle difference is between kut and bij. But yeah, still the desire to commit sin is there. So then they'll commit sin. So it's like so that's still there. So these are the 4 types of sin. One is the desire of sin. One is what makes one do the sin, and then there's the sins themselves that have already been performed, which are waiting for you to undergo. So Bhakti Devi, and the very first thing she does, when we start Bhakti, first we go through Shraddha, and then the first, and in Sadhu Sangha, and then the first 2 leaves that sprout on this Bhakti Lata is Kleshagni, that Bhakti destroys all misery, and Shubhada, Bhakti bestows all auspiciousness. And so we already read this from Srila Prabhupada, his explanation of this. But in Madhurya Kadambini, these are different kinds of... the main first 2 auspiciousness that she bestows is distaste for objects that are unrelated to Bhagavan, and a thirst for that which is related to Bhagavan. So those are the first 2 kinds of auspiciousness that she gives. And then there's all these other ones, like Anukulya, kindness, kripa, mercy, shama, forgiveness, all these qualities will start to arise in you. Satya, truthfulness, saralya, simplicity, samya, equality, dhairya, patience, gambhirya, gravity, manadatva, honoring others, amanitva, not expecting respect, and sarva sobhagya, all good fortune. And there's also more than this. These are just some. And actually, I don't know why this isn't here, but I think one of the main gratitude, I remember, anyways, I remember that being one of the main ones, and that all these qualities are actually contained within gratitude. Kritagyata. So anyways, so these are the first two characteristics of bhakti. Kleshagani, all the way up here. No, first is this one. Oh, I thought this should be number 3. Anyways, never mind. Sudurlabha. So Bhav Bhakti is most rarely obtained. And Moksha Lagutakrit. Bhav Bhakti makes even liberation seem trifling. This is normally number 3, and the other one's number 4, but maybe in Madhuri Kadambini it's mixed up, like it's the other way around. And then finally, the last two characteristics, which we're going to read about today in Nectar of Devotion, is Sandarananda Visheshatma, that Prem Bhakti is imbued with a condensed superlative pleasure. Sandarananda Visheshatma, and Krishna Karshini. Prem Bhakti is capable of attracting Sri Krishna. That's the final characteristic of Bhakti. And that's a Prem Bhakti. Alright, so you got that? First, Kleshagni, Shubhada, Moksha Lagutakrit, Sadurlabha, Sandarananda Visheshatma, Krishna Karshini. And this is all still in the first wave of the Eastern division. Alright, so let's go to, I haven't actually opened it up yet. 1 second. Oops. Okay, 1 second. Database.io. Where is it? All books. Sorry guys, I didn't really set up before I started. Nectar of Devotion, Chapter 1. Alright, so where are we? We did all these. Now we're on the last 3. The rareness, so we're on Sadurlabha. Oh, and I just want to show you the original verse that Rupa Goswami wrote for this section. So, Kleshagni Shubhada Moksha Laghutakrit Sudurlabha Sandrananda Sheshatma Shri Krishna Karshani Chasa. Alright, so we already read Srila Prabhupada's explanations of all these, and now we're doing Sadurlabha, Sandarananda Visheshatma, and Shri Krishna Karshani. Alright, so this is Sadurlabha, the rareness of pure devotional service. Make this bigger. Oh, and before I read, let's just do a quick Mangalacharan. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namane. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pashtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pardayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusuti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vrindaya Tulsidevaya Priyaya Keshavascha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satavatai Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare Hare. All right. Krishna consciousness is all auspicious, Sudulabha. Srila Rupa Goswami has given a definition of auspiciousness. He says that actual auspiciousness means welfare activities for all the people of the world. At the present moment, groups of people are engaged in welfare activities in terms of society, community, or nation. There is even an attempt in the form of the United Nations for world help activity. But due to the shortcomings of limited national activities, such a general mass welfare program for the whole world is not practically possible. The Krishna consciousness movement, however, is so nice that it can render the highest benefit for the entire human race. Everyone can be attracted by this movement, and everyone can feel the result. Therefore, Rupa Goswami and other learned scholars agree that a broad propaganda program for the Krishna consciousness movement of devotional service all over the world is the highest humanitarian welfare activity. How the Krishna consciousness movement can attract the attention of the whole world, and how each and every man can feel pleasure in this Krishna consciousness, is stated in the Padma Purana as follows. A person who is engaged in devotional service and full Krishna consciousness is to be understood to be doing the best service to the whole world and to be pleasing everyone in the world. In addition to human society, he is pleasing even to the trees and animals, because they also become attracted by such a movement. A practical example of this was shown by Lord Chaitanya when he was traveling through the forest of Jharkhand in central India for spreading his Sankirtan movement. The tigers, the elephants, the deer, and all the other wild animals joined him and were participating in their own ways by dancing and chanting Hare Krishna. Let's just see, I want to see this verse from Padma Puran. I always like to see the source material, what's being quoted. Let's see if I can get this. Okay, we already got Moksha. Okay, it should be close to here. Sudulabha. And this is Srila Rupa Goswami's definition of Sudulabha. Okay, so he says, there are two reasons Uttama Bhakti is very rare. One cannot obtain it by diligently and prolongedly performing sadhana without attachment. And two, Hari is reluctant to bestow it. So yeah, the Lord may easily give liberation, but He doesn't very easily give bhakti. It's very rare. And you can't even obtain it by just diligently and performing sadhana for a long time without attachment. Yeah, it's not. So, Okay, and then he gives a verse to explain the first one of these, that one cannot obtain it by diligently and prolongedly performing sadhana without attachment. What's that? Liberation comes easily by Gyan Yoga. Sense gratification comes easily by performing sacrifice. But Hari Bhakti remains very difficult to attain, even after practicing it thousands of times. This is a verse from Tantra. I don't know what Tantra that is, though. Anyways, Gyanata. Oh, I've learned this verse before. Gyanata sulabha muktir bhuktir yagya dipunyata sayam sadhana sahasrar hari bhakti sadulava. Yeah, we got taught this in the Puri Mat. The person in charge taught all the Brahmacharya Shloka. And now Krishna doesn't like to give bhakti very easily. So this is from the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna says, O king, Lord Mukunda became the protector of your family, your teacher, God, friend, family head, and even your servant because of the strong affection you have for him. Thus, he may grant one liberation, but not easily bhakti. Muktim dadati karhichit smana bhakti yogam. not easily bhakti. Okay, I guess Srila Prabhupada wasn't quoting one of the verses that Srila Rupa Goswami quoted. He was just quoting it. Yeah. So a person engaged in devotional service is to be understood to be doing the best service to the whole world and pleasing everyone in the world. Okay, so then he gave the example of Mahaprabhu spreading the Sankirtan movement in the Jharikanda forest, where all the tigers, the elephants, the deer, they're all chanting. So now, furthermore, a person engaged in Krishna consciousness, acting in devotional service, can develop all the good qualities that are generally found in the demigods. It is said by Shukadev Goswami in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 18th chapter, verse 12. My dear king, persons who have unflinching faith in Krishna and are without any duplicity can develop all the good qualities of the demigods. On account of a devotee's high grade of Krishna consciousness, even the demigods like to live with him, and therefore it can be understood that the qualities of the demigods have developed within his body. On the other hand, a person who is not in Krishna consciousness has no good qualities. Harava bhaktasya kuto muharguna. That's the verse that Srila Prabhupada is referring to here. He may be highly educated from the academic point of view, but in the actual field of his activities, he can be seen to be baser than the animals. Even though a person is highly educated academically, if he cannot go beyond the sphere of mental activities, then he is sure to perform only material activities and thus remain impure. There are so many persons in the modern world who have been highly educated in the materialistic universities, but it is seen that they cannot take up the movement of Krishna consciousness and develop the high qualities of the demigods. For example, a Krishna-conscious boy, even if he is not very well educated by the university standard, can immediately give up all illicit sex life, gambling, meat-eating, and intoxication, whereas those who are not in Krishna consciousness, although very highly educated, are often drunkards, meat-eaters, sex-mongers, and gamblers. These are practical proofs of how a Krishna-conscious person becomes highly developed in good qualities, whereas a person who is not in Krishna consciousness cannot do so. We experience that even a young boy in Krishna consciousness is unattached to cinemas, nightclubs, naked dance shows, restaurants, liquor shops, etc. He becomes completely freed. He saves his valuable time from being extravagantly spent in the way of smoking, drinking, and attending the theater and dancing. Yes. Okay. One who is not in Krishna consciousness usually cannot sit silently, even for half an hour. The yoga system teaches that if you become silent, you will realize that you are God. This system might be all right for materialistic persons, but how long will they be able to keep themselves silent? Artificially, they may sit down for so-called meditation, but immediately after their yogic performance, they will engage themselves in such activities as illicit sex life, gambling, meat-eating, and many other nonsensical things. But a Krishna conscious person gradually elevates himself without endeavoring for this so-called silent meditation. Simply because he is engaged in Krishna consciousness, he automatically gives up all this nonsense and develops a high character. One develops the highest character by becoming a pure devotee of Krishna. The conclusion is that no one can truly have any good qualities if he's lacking Krishna consciousness. This is interesting. This is like the... anyways, yeah, never mind. Okay. Now, Sandarananda Visheshatma. Let's see what it says in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Sandarananda Visheshatma. It's composed of condensed bliss. So this is now, finally, we're getting to the characteristics of Prem Bhakti. The infinite bliss that arises from attaining self-realization is an infinitesimal drop in the ocean of Bhakti's happiness. Brahmanando bhaver esha chet praragdha gunikrita naiti bhakti sukham bhode paramanu tulam api. And then Srila Rupa Goswami gives an example from Hari Bhakti Sudhodaya. Being in your direct company generates the ocean of pure bliss in which I am now plunged. In comparison, even the happiness of self-realization seems as small as a puddle in a cow's hoofprint. O teacher of the world. And there's another verse from Bhavarta Dipika. Those who enjoy hearing of your ambrosial pastimes alone, those people who alone truly consider the four goals of life to be like straw. All right, so happiness in Krishna consciousness. Srila Rupa Goswami has analyzed the different sources of happiness. He divided happiness into three categories. Wait a second. Am I in the right section? Whoa. Did I just read the wrong section? Oh my God, guys. I was thinking, why is it explaining this? I was thinking this is like the explanation for... Oh my God, I am so sorry, guys. How did that even happen? I don't even know how that happened. I read the wrong section. I was thinking, this doesn't have to do with Sadurlabha. I was thinking this is... that's what I was about to say when I was going to say never mind. Anyways, okay. Anyways, this chapter isn't much longer, so we'll finish this off. The rareness of pure devotional service. I'm really sorry about that. Okay. In the preliminary phase of spiritual life, there are different kinds of austerities, penances, and similar processes for attaining self-realization. However, even if an executor of these processes is without any material desire, he still cannot achieve devotional service. And aspiring for oneself alone to achieve devotional service is also not very hopeful, because Krishna does not agree to award devotional service to merely anyone. Krishna can easily offer a person material happiness or even liberation, but he does not agree very easily to award a person engagement in his devotional service. Devotional service can in fact be attained only through the mercy of a pure devotee. And in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 19.151, it is said, by the mercy of the spiritual master, who is a pure devotee, and by the mercy of Krishna, one can achieve the platform of devotional service. There is no other way. The rarity of devotional service is also confirmed in the Tantra Shastra, where Shiva says to Sati, my dear Sati, if one is a very fine philosopher, analyzing the different processes of knowledge, he can achieve liberation from the material entanglement. By performance of the ritualistic sacrifices recommended in the Vedas, one can be elevated to the platform of pious activities and thereby enjoy the material comforts of life to the fullest extent. But all such endeavors can hardly offer one devotional service to the Lord, not even if one tries for it by such processes for many, many thousands of births. That's how rare bhakti is. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is also confirmed by Prahlad Maharaj that merely by personal efforts or by the instructions of higher authorities, one cannot attain to the stage of devotional service. One must become blessed by the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee who is completely freed from the contamination of material desires. In the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th chapter, verse 18, Narad also says to Yudhishthira, my dear king, we just read this verse before. My dear king, it is Lord Krishna, known as Mukunda, who is the eternal protector of the Pandavas and the Yadus. He is also your spiritual master and instructor in every respect. He is the only worshipable God for you. He is very dear and affectionate, and he is the director of all your activities, both individual and familial. And what's more, he sometimes carries out your orders as if he were your messenger. My dear king, how very fortunate you are, because for others, all these favors given to you by the Supreme Lord would not even be dreamt of. The purport of this verse is that the Lord easily offers liberation, but he rarely agrees to offer a soul devotional service, because by devotional service, the Lord himself becomes purchased by the devotee. Yeah, that's a big thing. If he's giving you pure bhakti, that means he's actually letting you purchase him. So he's not going to just let everybody purchase him. So now we come to Sandrananda Visheshatma, the happiness of becoming one with the Supreme. Okay. One second, let me just look at the Sandrananda Visheshatma. So let's just look again, composed of condensed bliss. The infinite bliss that arises from attaining self-realization is an infinitesimal drop in the ocean of bhakti's happiness. Srila Rupa Goswami says that if Brahmananda, or the happiness of becoming one with the Supreme, is multiplied 1 trillion-fold, it still cannot compare to an atomic fraction of the happiness derived from the ocean of devotional service. And the Hari Bhakti Sudadoi, Prahlad Maharaj, while satisfying Lord Nrsingadev by his prayers, says, "My dear Lord of the universe, I am feeling transcendental pleasure in your presence and have become merged in the ocean of happiness. I now consider the happiness of Brahmananda to be no more than the water and the impression left by a cow's hoof in the earth." Yeah, compared to that ocean, to this ocean of bliss, I consider the happiness of Brahmananda to be no more than the water left in a cow's hoofprint, an impression in the ground left by a cow's hoofprint. Similarly, it is confirmed in the Bhavartha Dipika, Sridhar Swami's commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam. "My dear Lord, some of the fortunate persons who are swimming in the ocean of your nectar of devotion, and who are relishing the nectar of the narration of your pastimes, certainly know ecstasies that immediately minimize the value of the happiness derived from religiousness, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. Such a transcendental devotee regards any kind of happiness other than devotional service as no better than straw in the street." And now finally, the sixth characteristic of bhakti, of prem bhakti. So this is what we just read from Srila Prabhupada. "Those who enjoy of your ambrosial pastimes alone truly consider the 4 goals of life to be like straw." Now, Krishna Karshini. Let's see what Srila Rupa Goswami says. "Krita hari prema bhajam priya varga samanvitam bhaktir vashi korotiti Shri Krishna Karshini mata." Worshipping Hari with pure love makes him equally enchanted with the worshipper. Thus we consider that one with bhakti can attract Shri Krishna. This should have an uppercase H there, but yeah, it makes him equally enchanted with the worshipper. One with bhakti can attract Shri Krishna. Krishna Karshini. And now we're going to read from Srila Prabhupada. He's going to explain this verse. "I cannot, this is from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, "Na sadayati mam yogo, na sankyam dharma uddhava, na swadhyaya sapatyago, yata bhaktir mamorjita." I cannot be attained by yoga, nor study, nor religion, O Uddhav, nor by recitation of scripture, by austerity, or by renunciation. Thus, only bhakti can conquer me. Okay, so Srila Rupa Goswami has stated that devotional service attracts even Krishna. Krishna attracts everyone, but devotional service attracts Krishna. The symbol of devotional service in the highest degree is Radharani. Krishna is called Madan Mohan, which means that he is so attractive that he can defeat the attraction of thousands of cupids. But Radharani is still more attractive, for she can even attract Krishna. Therefore, devotees call her Madan Mohan Mohini, the attractor of Cupid. This is beautiful. To perform devotional service means to follow in the footsteps of Radharani. And devotees in Vrindavan put themselves under the care of Radharani in order to achieve perfection in their devotional service. In other words, devotional service is not an activity of the material world. It is directly under the control of Radharani. In Bhagavad Gita, it is confirmed that the Mahatmas, or great souls, are under the protection of Daivi Prakriti, the internal energy, Radharani. So, being directly under the control of the internal potency of Krishna, devotional service attracts even Krishna himself. That is so beautiful. See, this is Srila Prabhupada's own explanation here. He isn't even quoting directly Srila Rupa Goswami. He's just saying that everybody who wants to attract Krishna must be under the internal energy, the Daivi Prakriti, which is Radharani. So without Radharani, it's impossible to attract Krishna. Because she is that's her domain. So this fact is corroborated by Krishna in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 14th chapter, verse 20, where he says, "My dear Uddhav, you may know it from me that the attraction I feel for devotional service rendered by my devotees is not to be attained even by the performance of mystic yoga, philosophical speculation, ritualistic sacrifices, the study of Vedanta, the practice of severe austerities, or the giving of everything in charity. These are, of course, very nice activities, but they are not as attractive to me as the transcendental loving service rendered by my devotees." How Krishna becomes attracted by the devotional service of his devotees is described by Narad in Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 10th chapter, verses 48 and 49. There, Narad addresses King Yudhishthir while the king is appreciating the glories of the character of Prahlad Maharaj. A devotee always appreciates the activities of other devotees. Yudhishthir Maharaj was appreciating the qualities of Prahlad, and that is one of the symptoms of a pure devotee. That is one symptom of a pure devotee. A pure devotee never thinks himself great. He always thinks that other devotees are greater than himself. The king was thinking, Prahlad Maharaj is actually a devotee of the Lord, while I am nothing. And while thinking this, he was addressed by Narad as follows. Let's see the Sanskrit for this. Oh, I know this verse. Yuyam nuloke batapuri bhago lokam punana munayo bhiyanti yesham grihana vasati tishakshar kuram param brahma manushalingam. 7th canto, 10th chapter, verse 48. You are the most fortunate persons in this world. Even the saints who purify the world desire to live in your home, for there the Supreme Lord directly manifests in the most secret human form. Gudam param brahma manusha lingam. All right. So Narad says, this is Srila Prabhupada's translation of the verse that we just read. My dear King Yudhishthir, you, the Pandava brothers, are the only fortunate people in this world. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has appeared on this planet and is presenting himself to you as an ordinary human being. He is always with you in all circumstances. He is living with you and covering himself from the eyes of others. He's hiding. Guram param brahma manushalingam, that's what it said. Guram means, in a hidden form, secretly. Others cannot understand that he is the Supreme Lord, but he is still living with you as your cousin, as your friend, and even as your messenger. Therefore, you must know that nobody in this world is more fortunate than you. In Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna appeared in his universal form, Arjuna prayed. Let's just see the Sanskrit. What did Arjuna pray? Oh, okay, now this is just Srila Prabhupada, I think. Yeah, this is Srila Prabhupada now. My dear Krishna, Arjuna prayed, I thought of you as my cousin brother, and so I have shown disrespect to you in so many ways, calling you Krishna or friend. But you are so great that I could not understand. So that was the position of the Pandavas. Although Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the greatest among all greats, he remained with those royal brothers, being attracted by their devotion, by their friendship, and by their love. That is the proof of how great this process of devotional service is. It can attract even the Supreme Personality of Godhead. God is great, but devotional service is greater than God, because it attracts him. People who are not in devotional service can never understand what great value there is in rendering service to the Lord. People who are not in devotional service can never understand what great value there is in rendering service to the Lord. Jai, that was beautiful. So now at the end of this chapter, Srila Rupa Goswami says, in the beginning I mentioned that Uttam Bhakti has 3 stages of development. Each stage has 2 of these 6 glorious and famous qualities. So what are the 3 stages? First stage is Sadhan Bhakti, then there's Bhav Bhakti, and then there's Prema Bhakti. And then in each one of these stages, there are the 2 of the qualities which we went through. And yeah, that's it. So the next chapter we'll be reading is, where's the next chapter? Is Sadhan Bhakti. So we're going to go, I think it's the 64 limbs, if I remember correctly. Let's look at this chart, just how Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu corresponds to Nectar of Devotion. I mean, how Nectar of Devotion corresponds to Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. One second, it's right here. Think it. Open. Why is it not opening? There it is. Okay. So, all right. So we just went through the first section. So this is the Eastern Ocean. We went through the varieties of devotional service. Now an overview of devotional service. Oh no, sorry. The title of this chapter is called Bhagavad Bhakti Bheda, Varieties of Devotional Service. All right, so then we just went through this overview of devotional service, this first section, Samanya Bhakti. Now, tomorrow, we will be starting Sadhan Bhakti, devotional service and practice. And this is going to continue on for the next 16 chapters. Well, no, the next 15 chapters, I mean. Yeah, up to chapter 16. We're going to read, and this is all the 64 limbs of bhakti. Maybe we could also read from, when we go through this, the 64 limbs of bhakti, we can also read from my Gurudev's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, in which my Gurudev also goes, he explains Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Anyways, we'll look at that tomorrow. Bindu. Sorry, I meant to say Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu. Oops, it's no H in Bindu. Okay. All right, so sorry for reading that huge section, which wasn't even for today. That's what we already read. I was thinking it was really familiar and didn't have anything to do with pure with bhakti's rarity. But okay, I will end with Mahamantra. Should we do a little kirtan? Let's do a little kirtan. And let's see, I just want to see how it is in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So it first begins with Uttama Bhakti, the Anyavilashita Shunyam, and then the 3 types of Uttam Bhakti, and then Sadhan Bhakti. Let's see, that's chapter 23. Anyway, so that's the, we'll start reading along with this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu also tomorrow when we go through. Yeah. Oh, cool. And now they give the corresponding section on the side like that. That's really helpful. All right, so let's do some kirtan. What time is it? It's 8 o'clock. All right, just do quick. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai, Nitil Pavishtom Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Srila Gurudev Ki Jai, Nitil Pavishtom Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmad Srila Bhaktivedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai, Nitil Pavishtom Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmad Shila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmad Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Mahabhagavat Shila Vaksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Shila Satchitaranda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupano Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Shaghunath Shara Gosai Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai. Namachay Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Kshetra Mandal Gaura Mandal Vraja Mandal Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradatti Giri Raj Maharaj Ki Jai. Radha Khun Shama Khun Yamuna Ganga Tulsi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Shri Nectar of Devotion Ki Jai. Shri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Nitaya Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Vrindai Tulsidevai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavataya Namo Namaha. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyai vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Dandavat pranams. So just now, I'm going to stop this video and I'm going to go into this group I have called, there's a thing called Whereby. I think you've heard me talk about this before, right? I have, there's a thing, kirtan.whereby.com / madhukar. kirtan.whereby.com/madhukar, and in there, it's just like a conference room, you know, like Zoom, but the thing is, you don't need to make an account, and it's just online. You don't need to download anything. It's just really easy. And so if you, I'm gonna go sit in there and work on my projects right now, like on this book by Srila Vaman Goswami Maharaj. Where is it? This one. Patramrit. We're translating it into English, so I'm just going through the translation right now. But I have a hard time keeping focus for long periods of time without somebody watching me. Like lots of times, I'll get to a very difficult sentence, and then I'll just like, I can just take a little break, and then I'll go to YouTube, and then I'll waste a bunch of time. Like I'm just escaping from, difficult stuff. So what really helps me go on for long periods of time without getting distracted and just like deeply focusing and getting into that flow state is, I've tried different things, but this helps me the most, is when I'm working with other people. And what I do is inside this page in Whereby, I have a timer, and it goes for 25 minutes, and then we know, okay, we're going to work really hard for 25 minutes, and then we can take a 5-minute break. And just knowing that you're not going to be working forever, but that you only have 25 minutes to fit in the work, it helps make you focus a lot deeper. And then you take a 5-minute break, stretch, walk around, do whatever, and then oh, my internet connection went. Anyhow, at least that's what my computer's telling me. Anyhow, I'm not sure if you can hear me right now, but. And then I do another block of 25 minutes, and then another 5-minute break, and then 25 minutes, 5-minute break. Yeah, and I have another WhatsApp group for that, where I just tell people when I'm going online, and then sometimes some of my friends come in, and we all study together. So if you want to read any shastra, you want to study, or you want to memorize shlokas, or you just have you're writing a book, even if you're doing your work, like your job, feel free to join, and we can help motivate each other to just get in the flow, focus. All right, Haribol, I'm going to end this video now. I usually do this Whereby thing in the morning time for a few hours, and then I do it now from like 8 till 10. All right, Haribol, I'm stopping the video now. And actually, let me just send you a link in case you want to. Here, this is it. kirtan.whereby.com/madhukar. So yeah, I'm in there usually like 5 hours a day or something like that, I think. Usually, like on a good day. All right, Haribol.